Today we continue to listen the liberation of the two chief disciples of the Buddha, Venerable Sariputra and Venerable Mahamoggallana. Buddha delivered Anupada Sutta, which was all about how Venerable Sariputra had practiced during his 15 days intensive retreat. This discourse was started with the praise of the profound wisdom Venerable Sariputra was endowed with. Buddha said, Bhikkhus, Sariputra is the one who has got great wisdom, vast wisdom, delightful wisdom, fast wisdom, sharp wisdom, and penetrative wisdom. Sariputra bhikkhave addhamasa anupada dhamma anupada vipassana vipassati. Bhikkhu Sariputra practiced anupada vipassana for 15 days. The anupada vipassana is a certain vipassana method which is honored as the most extensive and exceptional vipassana method among others. No method can excel that method. Venerable Sariputra practiced Anupada Vipassana for 15 days and became an Arahant. And Buddha said, Bhikkhus, it is Sariputra's Anupada Vipassana method that I am going to talk about. Tiyasa Dhamma Anupada Vavitita Hondi, Tiyasa Dhamma Vidita Obijanti. Vidita Upadhanti, Vidita Apatam Gichanti. He became distantly aware of these phenomena one by one as they occurred. Distantly aware they arose, distantly aware they were present, distantly aware they disappeared. When Venerable Sariputra observed the 16 mental states, he became distantly aware of their appearance, presence, and disappearance. In other words, he was aware of their beginning, middle, and end. So he was aware of these phenomena, these mental states, comprehensively. In the same way, as a vipassana meditators, you are also supposed to be aware of the phenomena comprehensively if they are manifested to you. Only then can you develop vipassana insight knowledge. In reality, during the jhanic absorption, it is impossible to observe any jhanic mental states by means of vipassana. Venerable Sariputra actually contemplated the jhanic states that were no longer present, of course. No mental state can arise without an object. So his jhanic mind arose based on a certain jhanic object. That jhanic object was still vivid to him, and so his jhanic mental states, such as vitaka, initial application, visara, sustained attention, and so on. That is why Saripudra became distantly aware of those jhanic mental states in three phases: their appearance, presence, and disappearance. So Vipassana meditators here also can have similar experience. They are also aware of the mental states or thoughts, especially when they reach the stage of knowledge or comprehension. They can see phenomena in three phases: arising, lasting, and disappearing, or beginning, middle, and end. So you have liberation paper, page number 5, number 32. We read again. 32. He became distantly aware of these phenomena one by one as they occurred. Distantly aware they arose, distantly aware they were present, distantly aware they disappeared. Can you read together one more? He became distantly aware of these phenomena one by one as they occurred. So for the Vipassana yogis also, you can have similar experience. And Buddha continues, so evam pajanati evam kirame dhamma ahotva sambhavanti hotva parivinditi so tesu dhammesu anupayo anapayo anisito, etc. He understood thus, so indeed these states not having been come into being, having been, they vanish. Regarding those states, he abided, not attached, not averse, not dependent, not bound, liberated, not associated, having his mind rid of barriers, he understood. There is an escape beyond, and with the contemplation of that fact, he confirmed that there is. So according to this passage, Venerable Saripudra saw jhanic mental states coming into existence, lasting and vanishing every time he observed them. He saw them newly arose and disappeared immediately afterwards at every moment. And then he realized that they were phenomena that had been nowhere before, but just newly arose, Ahota Sambhavanti, Hota Pati. This indicates how he realized impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self. Although these terms were not directly mentioned here, number one, Ahota Sambhavanti. These psychophysical phenomena arise without having been anywhere before. They were nowhere before, but newly arise. To common people, they seem to have existed long before. People think their bodies and minds have been the same as always from the childhood till now. They feel like they have been the same person with the same bodies and the same minds since their childhood. To them, it seemed that the same mind has been seeing, the same mind has been hearing, the same mind has been thinking, the same mind has been analyzing, etc. They never think that the phenomena newly arise at every moment. As for Venerable Sariputta, he realized, so indeed, these states, not having been, come into being, having been, they vanish. He realized that mental states such as vitaka, initial attention, visara, sustained attention, and so on, came into existence without having existed before. Satesu Dhammesu Anupayo Anapayo Anisito Abdibado. Regarding those days, Sariputta abided not attached, not averse, not dependent, not bound, liberated, not associated, and having his mind rid of barriers. Anupayo, he abided not attached. Venerable Sariputta abided being not attached to any of those mental states in terms of craving, because he discerned their appearance and disappearance. Without such discernment, Sariputta would have been attracted to them because the journey state was significantly pleasant. However pleasant they might be, Sariputta was not attracted to these pleasant jhanic mental states. Anupayo. Anapayo, he abided not averse, not disliking. Actually, jhanic mental states consists of nothing to be averse to, like an undesirable object to which the mind is naturally averse. Anyway, anyhow, Sariputta was not averse to these mental states. Anapayo, Anesito, he abided not dependent. Saripura did not depend on them in terms enjoying them, craving, or in terms identifying them as it is a person or it is self or it is individual, I or my, etc. Abadibado, Saripura abided not bound. He was not bounded to them. Vimoto, Vipamoto, Saripura abided liberated. He was liberated in terms of having no sensual desire. Visayuddha, he abided not associated. It means not to be associated with. Ordinary people are associated with sensual sense object in terms of unwholesome sensory reaction. If an object is desirable, they are associated with it in terms of greed or sensual desire. Several kinds of sensual objects exist around in their own right and keep impinging on their senses. So it is unavoidable for people to encounter many undesirable objects too. People are often associated with the undesirable objects in terms of dosa, aversion, or discontent. They cannot stop their mind from being associated with the object. As for Venerable Sariputta, he was not associated with these states. His mind did not react to them in terms of desire and discontent, in terms of lova and dosa. Here, meditators also are not associated with objects such as seeing, despair, hearing, despair, rising, despair, falling, despair, bending, despair, stretching, despair, and so on. All these are noted and known as impermanent. So meditator will not be associated with any of them in terms of desire and discontent, lobha and dosa. In that case, it is said, Venerable Sariputta abided not associated with them. Vimriya Dikadena, Sariputta abided having his mind rid of barriers. Here, barriers refers to mental defilements that often interrupt the mindfulness. As meditators, you can find many of such barriers. You are noting the rising and falling of the abdomen and desirable object interfere. Rising and desire, desirable object arousing the sensual desire and interrupting your mindfulness. Such interruptions are called barriers. You have to note the desire, and again something else undesirable may occur to you, making you angry and interrupting your mindfulness again. You have to note it as anger, and then often arise such interruption or barriers. Venerable Sariputta has no such barriers when he got into and out of his jhanic absorption to observe the jhanic factors such as vitaka, initial attention, visara, sustained attention, and so on. He kept observing those phenomena continuously without any interruption or barriers. As a vipassana meditators, you can also have similar experience of practice when you reach the stage of, when you reach the knowledge of rise and fall. At this stage, you are capable of being mindful continuously without barrier, no thinking, no interruption at all. Actually, especially when you reach the stage of mature stage of equanimity, you would find yourself to be effortlessly aware of every manifested phenomena. Just a few moments after you have noted, and such as rising and falling and sitting, touching, etc. In this stage, your mindfulness has been continuous for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, or an hour without any thoughts, interval, or barrier. That is the way it should be. That is what is meant by the phrase, Venerable Sariputta abided, having his mind rid of barriers, Vimriya Dikatena Viharati. Alternatively, barrier can also mean a limited clarity of object. There are times when the yogis bothers about objects to note because familiar objects become vague or blurry. Such is called an object barrier, Aramana Mariyada. Now, Venerable Sariputta did not have such an object barrier either. It is very important to be aware of objects clearly. If a meditator is mindful of one object after another without shortage of object to note, then you are considered to be practicing without the object barrier, Aramana Mariyada. So if you are continuously mindful without thought intervals, then you are considered to be practicing without the defilement barrier, Kilesa Mariyada. Only when you are mindful in your way without two kinds of barrier can your vipassana insight knowledge get higher and higher progressively. So ati odari nisaranandi pajanadi tabulikara ati dwivisa hodi. Venerable Sariputta realized there is an escape beyond. With the repeated contemplation of that facts, he confirmed that there is. Venerable Sariputta, contemplating the status of first jhana, realized that it was the low-grade jhana. First jhana is not high enough. There were higher stages to develop. Having thus contemplated repeatedly, he confirmed that there were definitely higher stages to develop. His practice was not yet accomplished. So with this contemplation, Sariputta concluded his vipassana contemplation of the first jhana. So we should analyze how meditator here practice in comparison with how Venerable Sariputta did. That is why this Anubhada discourse is worth learning. How did Venerable Sariputta practice vipassana? Sariputta got first absorbed into the first jhana and then observed its mental states immediately after getting out of the jhana. Here, jhanic absorption means just the continuous flow of the jhanic mind. When having got out of that absorption, Sariputta absorbed its jhanic mental states by means of vipassana. Given these facts, it is very obvious that Venerable Sariputta practiced vipassana by observing the phenomena empirically, but not by thinking logically or by analyzing mind and body intellectually. Vipassana meditators on jhana vehicle observe their own jhanic states immediately after getting out of the jhana. In the same way, meditators on pure vipassana vehicle here observe your own phenomena. The point is, vipassana meditators is to observe what are really arising in you. So a jhana achiever observe jhanic mental states, and non-jhana achiever any kinds of namarupa, psychophysical phenomena that are arising in you. Of course, it is impossible for you to observe jhanic mental states simply because you have no jhana. You are just to be mindful of what you have. You are just to be mindful of what are really arising in you. A jhana achiever is to observe the jhanic mental states immediately after he gets out of it, but not long afterwards or a day before. Now meditators here, having no jhana, are just to observe your own mental states. We have mental states of seeing, mental states of hearing, mental states of smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, and so on. So meditators are just to be mindful of what you have, but not what you don't have. When mental defilements arise in you, for example, they are what you really have and what you would elusively identify as I or mine. So meditators have to see them as they really are so that you won't get such illusion. So on the samatha vehicle, those on the samatha vehicle observe their own jhanic mental states immediately after getting out of jhana. A jhana achiever can observe his jhanic mental states, and non-jhana achiever is just to observe his mental state like seeing, hearing, and so on. As a non-jhana achiever, you have to note seeing right after having seen. You have to note hearing right after having heard. And similarly, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking right afterwards. So those sensory mental states are not much different from jhanic mental states. Such both are just mental states to observe. So from Venerable Sariputra practice, we can learn that we are to observe the mental state right after they have arisen in us. So those on the samatha vehicle observe their own jhanic mental states immediately after getting out of jhana. Likewise, those on the vipassana vehicle are to observe their own sensory mental states immediately afterwards. So you have liberation paper, page number 5, number 33. If you are jhana, you have to observe your jhanic mental state immediately after coming out of jhana. If you are vipassana meditators, if you are on the vipassana vehicle, you have to observe your own sensory mental states, seeing, hearing, etc. immediately after seeing, etc. So number 33, can you follow me? Those on the samatha vehicle observe their own jhanic mental states immediately after coming out of jhana. Likewise, those on the vipassana vehicle are to observe their own sensory mental states immediately afterwards. Can you read one more together? Those on the samatha vehicle undeniably, a meditators on a yogi on the samatha vehicle can observe jhanic mental states. Only after having got out of jhanic absorption, however, those mental states that arose a few moments earlier would be stay vivid enough to be considered present. That is why the commentary using the present tense explain that Aramana Birabana Lekana Vitaka Vitati. He is distinctly aware that there arises Vitaka, initial attention with its characteristic of directing its concomitant factors to the object, and so on. So in the same way, if you observe phenomena immediately after seeing, immediately after hearing, and so on, you can find them stay vivid enough as if they were really present. That is the way meditators here observe phenomena. Meditators observe seeing immediately after seeing. You have to observe hearing immediately after heard, after having heard, and so on. And whatever else is manifested to them. So in this sense, it is said, those on the samatha vehicle and those on the vipassana vehicle, etc. So one more thing to learn from this discourse is that Venerable Sariputta observed only 16 mental states out of 34 concomitant jhanic states as mentioned in Abhidhamma. Actually, Sariputta observed just 15 because Sukha and Vedana are the same in ultimate sense. But if you can observe phenomena manifested to you, then your observation is considered to be good enough to meet its purpose. You don't need to bother to observe phenomena that are not manifested. So this fact is clearly indicated by this discourse. So it is not necessary even for Venerable Sariputta to observe the phenomena that were not manifested. Not to mention for general people like us. The way Venerable Sariputta observed is considered the most extensive possible for a disciple, except for the Buddha and Pichika Buddha or individual Buddha. Nobody else's observation can be as extensive as his. Even Venerable Moggallana was not able to observe that much detail. So it is said, Ma Moggallana Tirohi Savakanam Samasana Yati Kotiya Upilindo Viya Ekadisamiwa Samasanto Satta Divasi Vayamitwa Radam Papoti Radam Pato. Venerable Moggallana like hitting the ground with the walking stick. Observe the limited phenomena possibly known to a disciple. Having thus practiced for 7 days, Moggallana became an Arahant. So you have liberation paper, how Venerable Moggallana practiced, page number 5, number 34. Can you follow me? Venerable Moggallana, like hitting the ground with a walking stick, observe the limited phenomena possibly known to a disciple. Having thus practiced for 7 days, he became an Arahant. Can you read one more together? When Moggallana hits the ground with a walking stick, the spot he should hit is extremely limited in comparison with the remaining part of the ground. In the same way, the phenomena Venerable Moggallana observed were very limited. So certainly, Venerable Moggallana failed to observe many phenomena that he would possibly have observed. That is why it is said that Venerable Moggallana just observed very limited phenomena like hitting the ground with a stick. Saka atta bhava priya pani anawasi sato parike tongcha sammasi tongcha asekunto. Not able to discern or to contemplate all his own phenomena in full. So Venerable Sariputta observed most extensive phenomena that a disciple can do. Anavasesato here, extensive phenomena refers to the phenomena that are manifested, but not to the remaining ones. Given the sentence, Venerable Sariputta observed 16 mental states. It is pretty reasonable to assume that it was not necessary for him to observe the remaining states. In the same way, as a yogi, as a meditator, you are to observe a single phenomenon if that is only object manifested to you, whereas Venerable Sariputta observed 16 jhanic mental states just because they were manifested to him among those involved in a single moment of jhana. For general rebel people, however, it would be good enough if they can be mindful of one or two mental states manifested out of those involved in the thought. You don't need to bother about the rest. This point is really noteworthy. Venerable Sariputta observed 16 mental states manifested among others, but he did not contemplate any of the big ones. And you understand the Buddha explicitly said that Venerable Sariputta observed 16 mental states, or 15 to be exact. According to Abhidhamma, the first jhana consists of 34 mental states, including the jhanic consciousness. So Sariputta did not observe 19 states because they were not clearly manifested to him. So this point evidently indicates that it is not necessary to observe the phenomena that are not manifested. No Pali canon or commentary mentions any yogi who has ever practiced vipassana by contemplating all the phenomena as mentioned in Abhidhamma. It is not mentioned. In view of this discourse, it is very obvious that we don't need to bother to observe any phenomena that are not manifested. In other words, we have to observe the phenomena only when they are manifested to us. So manifested one is important. If not manifested, we don't need to bother. So you have liberation paper number 35. Can you follow me? 35. Venerable Sariputra observed 16 mental states manifested among others, but he did not contemplate any of the big ones. Similarly, meditators are to observe only obvious phenomena. Can you read one more together? Venerable Sariputra So Venerable Sariputra observed only 16 mental states that were manifested to him. Taking these facts into account, it would be fake vipassana. If you practice vipassana by contemplating the phenomena that are not manifested to you. So it is, we say it as fake vipassana because we cannot attain Megaphala only by contemplating what are not manifested to us. So it is Mahasi Sayadaw said, it is fake vipassana if you contemplate what is not manifested. So real one, manifested one, you observe, and it is true vipassana. And if you observe what is not real, what is not manifested, it is fake vipassana. Like Mahasi Sayadaw said, it is Number 36. Can you follow me? It is fake vipassana. If you contemplate what is not manifested. Can you read one more? So Venerable Sariputra observed 16 jhanic mental state that were manifested among them. In the same way, meditators as the vipassana yogis are to observe whatever is manifested to you. When seeing, for instance, you may be aware of seeing consciousness, or feeling, or mental contact, or whatsoever else is manifested. Moreover, it is not necessary to put effort in distinguishing between which what are manifested and what are not manifested. Actually, all we need to do is just to observe whatever occurs to us. While thinking of something or while thinking of someone, for instance, if greed or lust is obvious, notice as greed, greed. Accordingly, if anger or disliking or hatred arise, is obvious, notice as anger, anger. So we don't need to bother about anything not obvious, just observe any object obvious. So it is important in the vipassana. So Nubada Sutta is very precious for us. We can learn a lot to practice meditation correctly. So we will continue tomorrow. We have to observe, we have to stop our discourse for today. By practicing vipassana meditation, by observing every phenomena occurring at the six senses, may you practice true vipassana, may you not practice fake vipassana. May you contemplate what is manifested to you. May you not contemplate what is not manifested to you. By practicing rising, falling, standing, walking, seeing, hearing, etc., continuously and meticulously, may all yogis be liberated from all suffering. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future.